All my adult life, I have assumed that when neoliberalism finally went down, it would be people like me that won. It would be the left would have made a comeback. And that isn't what happened. Instead, the far right has won the victory. And that's very depressing.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for. And I'm sorry that we did not win this election.
Links-Amerika hangt nu al 2 weken verslagen in de touwen. En niemand weet hoe het verder moet.
Just hang on a second. Hello? Yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. What is it? Okay, thank you.
Historicus en journalist Thomas Frank werd 12 jaar geleden beroemd met dit boek, waarin hij opschreef dat de Democraten de blanke arbeiders dreigden te verliezen aan de Republikeinen. Dit jaar waarschuwde hij nog een keer, maar weer werd er niet geluisterd.
I don't know how many times I have met with Democrats who talked about something called the coalition of the ascendant. What they mean by this phrase is that their voters are growing in numbers. It's young people, it's Latinos, it's African Americans, it's various ethnic minorities and young people, and they are growing in numbers, whereas the Republican coalition is shrinking in numbers. And so, therefore, the Democrats are going to win every presidential election from here on out. And they don't have to do anything differently.
And why is that so wrong, so naive?
Well, the main thing that it overlooks is that the Republicans aren't just going to sit still and let this happen. They're going to do something about it. You know, they're going to go out there and try to chisel off some piece of the Democratic coalition, which they just did, the white working class.
My opponent slanders you as deplorable and irredeemable. I call you hard-working American patriots.
And so you have a candidate like Hillary Clinton who's totally uninspiring, is promising all of these different things that nobody believes. Nobody thinks she's really going to deliver them. It's totally insincere.
Like?
Oh, like on the trade deals, where she, Bernie Sanders challenged her on the trade deals. So she's like, okay, yes, I helped negotiate the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but now I'm against it, or Wall Street banks. Now I think that they probably should be regulated or something like that. And then she's out there giving speeches to these guys.
Ruim 20 jaar geleden onder Bill Clinton ging het volgens Frank al mis. Clinton ging voluit voor vrijhandel, voor deregulering van Wall Street, voor het neoliberalisme.
I, William Jefferson Clinton, do solemnly swear.
There was a motto that the Democrats had back in the 1990s when they would treat one of their constituent groups very badly, like African Americans or like organized labor. They would say, they've got nowhere else to go. Okay, and they said this again, and if you go back to the 90s and read news stories from that time, it was a common phrase. They've got nowhere else to go. And they said it when they passed NAFTA, because organized labor, NAFTA, what this is, the trade deal, it really hurt working people's lives in this country. And unions were very much against it, and the Democrats passed it, basically rolled right over their own constituency, organized labor, and passed it.
No matter the color of our skin.
And you go to the Democratic Convention, and the leaders of the big labor unions in America, the AFL-CIO and some of the other big unions, came out and they had their moment on the stage. And at the end of the day, all the delegates are expected to go back to their hotel by Uber. Here, I picked this up at the Uber tent. These are Uber M&Ms. Can you see this? At the Democratic Convention, they made a special deal with Uber to take the delegates home. And this is after having the big organized labor, organized labor's big night at the Democratic Convention. You're all supposed to go and take Uber home. Uber is destroying the livelihood of unionized taxi drivers all over America and in your country as well. And this is the Democrats that are handing these things out. They don't care.
Progressieven zoals Frank dachten 8 jaar geleden dat er met Obama een andere wind ging waaien. Maar op een aantal voor hen cruciale dossiers liet hij het afweten.
We had it within our grasp in 2009. President Obama had it within his grasp to come down hard on the banks. That was obviously the question before the country at the time. That's step number one. you know, take a sledgehammer to the Wall Street banks. He totally had it within his power to fire the manager. They were all bailed out. He had votes on the board of every bank, you know, all the big banks in America.
Why didn't he do so?
The answers that the administration gave were never very satisfying, but that was the moment for a real transformation.
So that didn't happen, but then.
But that's you can't downplay this, and you can't brush it off. This was what he was elected to do, and he didn't do it. That is absolutely crucial to understanding what has happened since then.
Sinds de verloren verkiezingsnacht van 8 november zijn de leiders in de partij aan het herbezinnen.
You need to look it right in the eye and ask why. Analyze it and learn from it.
Democrats must be unified, strategic, and unwavering.
When you lose the White House to the least popular candidate in the history of America, when you lose the Senate, when you lose the House, and when 2/3 of governors in this country are Republicans, it is time for a new direction for the Democratic Party.
Up until like a month ago, I had all sorts of solutions. You do this, you do that, you do the other, and you win. And then you keep winning. They can't do any of the things. All the things that I used to propose involved having power and using that power. So making it possible to join a union. Using the power of antitrust enforcement. Prosecuting some Wall Street bankers. You know, doing these obvious things here and there. And you know, they didn't do any of them, and now they can't do it.
You sound pretty desperate.
Well, okay, yeah. Maybe I am.